Hello, all. This is Caleb with KingsAdvisors, and boy, oh boy, do I have an awesome thing to tell y'all today.
My God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure?
So I was scrolling through Twitter last night and came across this tweet from Jane Theory. It was a retweet of a tweet from HBO Max. A century before a Game of Thrones, there was Sir Duncan the Tall and his Squire Egg. Executive produced by George R.R. Martin, Ira Parker, Ryan Condal, and Vince Gerardis. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, the Hedge Knight, has received a straight to series order. And I cannot explain just how pumped I am about that. The Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, the book is, I think, one of the best things that George Martin has written. He crushed it. Sir Dunc the Tall is probably my favorite character in A Song of Ice and Fire anthology. And to explain about Dunc the Tall, let me open his wiki page. Oh, apologies. There we go. So Dunc the Tall, we actually hear about Sir Duncan the Tall in Game of Thrones. I think it's season 4 when Joffrey is looking through the book of the Knights of the Kingsguard, the Kingsguard book. He mentions Sir Dunc the Tall because Sir Dunc the Tall was Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. The book, The Hedge Knight, has, if I recall correctly, 5 stories in it. And the first is the famous Ashford Meadows tournament. Now, I won't say everything that happens, but the tournament at Ashford Meadows is one of the defining moments of the Targaryen dynasty, because something happens there that puts the Targaryens on the path that they end up on after 209 AC, which of course means after the Conquering. And just with the success that House of the Dragon has been, I expected this to get greenlit. I expected that House of the Dragon would lead to Sir Duncan the Tall stories, Aegon the Conquering stories, the Blackfire Rebellions, all of that. And I think that stuff's still going to come. But getting a story that's actually about a good person in that world, I think is going to be a very interesting concept. Now, the only problem with them announcing this, and my assumption would be with them saying that, with them already telling us we're getting a straight to series order for this is probably a 2025 show, because I imagine that House of the Dragon season 2 is sometime mid next year. Maybe they'll do the same thing they did last year and have it line up to compete with Rings of Power season 2, which would push Knights of the Seven Kingdoms to 2025. That's fine. If you want to have a TV show every year, go right ahead, as long as you do a good job. And what's great about this is Ira Parker, Ryan Condal, and Vince Gerardis have already been working on House of the Dragon. And two of them, I think it's Ryan Condal and Vince Gerardis. Let me just confirm on IMDb real quick. So Vince Gerardis was co-executive producer for all 73 episodes of Game of Thrones, and he was the executive producer for House of the Dragon. The other guys, let me scroll down here on my app because I was looking them up earlier. Ryan Condal is credited as the creator of House of the Dragon. Ira Parker is co-executive producer of House of the Dragon. I believe he wrote an episode of House of the Dragon. Let's see. He wrote the 4th episode, King of the Narrow Sea. That's the one where, what's his name? Damon returns to King's Landing, which was a very good episode. And he didn't do anything with Game of Thrones. So we've got two people who did a very good job with Game of Thrones. One who apparently wrote the show, created the show. And we've got the executive producer for Game of Thrones, which overall was still a very good show. Now, if Vince Gerardis is one of the reasons that it went downhill, that's disappointing. But as much as I've learned about it, I am under the impression that most of the blame falls on, I believe his name is Miguel Sapochnik, which is why it was good news when he decided to leave House of the Dragon halfway through the season was airing. So we've got good producers on the show. We've got about 2 years to do it, most likely, and we have a direct-to-season order. I'm not really sure what more we could ask for right now. There's, they've got to cast this show correctly, and they did a great job casting House of the Dragon. I have no doubt that they'll cast this just as well as they did that. The only issue with this is Egg is Dunc's squire. That's kind of a spoiler, but I mean, the subtitle of the book is, if I recall correctly, the Dunc and Egg story or something like that. So casting Egg is going to be a difficult thing, I think, because he's a very complicated and kind of weird character. And the main problem is, when you cast kids, you've got to pray and hope that, puberty doesn't mess with them, that as they age up, they kind of stay looking like they did. I know there was concern over when they cast the guy that played Bran. If I recall correctly, I feel like there was a story out there for a while that they had thought about recasting him around season 4 because he had gotten that much older because of how they were filming the show. Right now, I'd say we have 4 seasons of that kind of show, maybe even less, because honestly, the first story is about 5 hours in the book. If you're having it read to you, I have it on Audible, so I listened to it a couple times. And so that first story is, I think, about 5 hours. So how does that direct to TV? Will the first story be the first couple episodes, and the next story will be the rest of the season, something like that? I feel like that could work pretty well. The big hiccup with this, though, is that the story of Dunc and Egg is not finished. Martin has said that after Winds of Winter comes out, he plans on releasing a second novella for Dunc and Egg. So is this another case of production is going to get ahead of George R.R. Martin? I would not be surprised. However, the good thing is we know where we're going with this story. We already know how Dunc ends up. So they could, but I doubt they mess that up. But like I said at the beginning of this is huge news. I'm so happy to get more stuff in this universe. I'm so happy that we're getting this story next. It's one of my favorite stories in A Song of Ice and Fire anthology. Dunc the Tall is one of my favorite characters. I couldn't be more excited. And I cannot wait to talk to Dan about this on our next live stream. As always, everybody, thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment about what you're excited about. Do you have any concerns, anything like that? And please follow us on Twitter at KingsAdvisors_.